It's time to wrap up reality. I'm your host, Tom Versey. Welcome to TV Talks with Tom. So yeah, as I said, this is the first ever episode of TV Talks with Tom, and I'm super hyped to get started. I've never done anything like this before. I'm going outside my comfort zone, but I'm sure it's going to be a lot of fun. So just before I get started and talk about the TV show I'm going to talk about today, I'm just going to let you all know what to expect on this channel. As you've guessed, it's about reality TV mainly, but what about reality TV? Well, we're going to look at certain TV shows that I've chosen. I've chosen 4, and I'll tell you those in a second. But we're going to be giving opinions, reviews, and we're going to be analysing these episodes of those television shows. And you might get a few predictions here and there of some shows. Okay, so the 4 I've chosen to cover this year. I may do more, but we'll see how the channel goes. I've chosen Strictly Come Dancing, Big Brother USA, I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, and Survivor. Obviously, there's 2 series of Survivor in a year. So the one I'm going to be talking about today is Survivor Edge of Extinction, as that is on TV currently. Right, so I hope you all understand what is going to be happening on this channel. So let's start talking about Survivor Edge of Extinction. So it was episode 5 that was on last week, and it was a 2-hour special, so we've got lots to talk about. So let's just dive right in and we'll start talking about the beginning of the episode. Right, okay, so at the end of episode 4, we saw Devons as the latest member of the Edge of Extinction. He was voted out by his fellow tribe mates, and now he is on the Edge of Extinction, and that's exactly where the episode started. So this is just Devons coming to terms with his new surroundings, and obviously he's joining the rest of the people who have been put on the Edge of Extinction with him. I think there's Reem on there now, there's Keith, and there's Chris, and Devons is the 4th person to be there as well. So obviously he was struggling, you know, he was in the exact same predicament as everyone else. He was talking about how long is it going to last for, but he was determined. He wanted to last because he really, just like everyone else, he wants to get back in the game. The episode then moved on to looking at the first rewards challenge. So obviously, as it's a 2-hour special, there is going to be 2 rewards challenges and also 2 eliminations, which means 2 tribal councils. Okay, so the first rewards challenge involved them racing through a series of obstacles, and they had to throw these boulders onto a post. And at the start, Jeff asked, obviously, because Karma and Manu had 1 extra person. So Karma had to decide to have Julia sitting out, and Manu had Aubrey sitting out. Okay, so they started going straight away, and Lesu, they were struggling with holding David up when they had to reach the post that was on top of them. And eventually they had to swap David down, and they had to get Lauren up, so they were struggling all the way. And then eventually, because Karma took the early lead, they've been dominating all these challenges in previous weeks as well, so this is no change. They came first, and they won some peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and they won some jars of peanut butter and jelly. And then Manu came second, which was a small plate of PB&J sandwiches to go with that. So obviously, Lesu, they're seriously struggling. They keep losing tribe mates, and the people who are on the tribe, they seem to be not that good at challenges, despite they've got quite a good physical team. I mean, they've got War Dog, they've got Wentworth, and they've also got David, and they've also got Lauren. And I wouldn't say any of them are bad physically, so I think that they're all doing quite well. But it's obviously, it shows that the competition is better than ever. The fact that all these people from Karma and Manu are being able to beat Lesu. After the first reward challenge, we then saw each individual island and what the teams were getting up to, what each tribe was getting up to, and sort of seeing where they were standing when it comes to votes and when it comes to alliances and reactions from the rewards challenge. Okay, so we went to Karma first, and Julia keeps reiterating to everyone, apart from Joe obviously, that Joe is a big threat. He's a returning player, which automatically puts a massive target on your back. So then Joe, what he wanted to do, he started contributing a lot. You know, he started fishing, he started working around the camp a lot more than others, because he wanted to show his importance to the group. He wanted to make them feel like if he wasn't there, that tribe was really going to struggle. So then Julie and Julia and Ron were all sat together, and they were talking about getting Joe out potentially. Just an idea, just a concept, just sort of pitching it there, just in case they did happen to have to vote someone out. But Ron, in last week's episode, in episode 4, he didn't make an alliance with Joe, but they both spoke, and they both sounded like they were confident with one another, and they really not wanted to work together, but they trusted each other. So I think Ron didn't really say much in that conversation, but Julie and Julia did definitely want him out. You could definitely tell, though, that Ron was definitely not on board with that. He didn't say that, but you could tell he wanted to keep Joe, because I think he trusted him, and Joe also would probably help him out if he was in a sticky situation. So, but then at the end of that section, we saw that Julie definitely wants Joe out before the merge. So I think that's exactly what she's going to be trying to do if they end up going to tribal council. Then we move on to Manu. Okay, so it was a lot of conversation straight away about the aftermath of Chicken Gate, which was Wendy in episode 4 releasing the chickens. I mean, is that really a wise game move? Is she thinking that through? Because I can tell you for a fact, if I was on there, I wouldn't go be releasing people's food that where they're on a desert island and it's one of the only things that they can eat, or they can even get eggs from them. That someone who's going to release chickens into the wild, in which, you know, that's a source of food for the people, they can get food from that. And Wendy's just, you know, carelessly throwing that away. You know, I can appreciate maybe she feels uncomfortable about it, but she should talk about this with the group rather than just going, it's my way or the highway, I'm throwing the chickens away. So everyone seemed a bit annoyed with that, which is why I think people were thinking if they got a tribal council by Wendy, I think they want rid of her straight away. So Aubrey said she wants to play harder. She's obviously got her immunity idol that she found, but I think because she's a returning player, I think she wants to up her game slightly, you know, and just assert a bit of dominance onto the game. Although I don't think she wants to do it too much because she doesn't want a massive target on her back. Then Eric, Victoria and Gavin were discussing, like, secretly, they were talking about what they want to do when it comes to the merge. Do they want to keep Wendy or do they want to keep Aubrey? And then Victoria sort of decided she wants to make Aubrey feel safe, give her a sense of security, so then she doesn't feel like, just in case they do decide to get rid of Aubrey, they don't want to just go, Aubrey, we're getting rid of you. What they want to do is a complete blindside. They don't want Aubrey to have an absolute clue if they're going to get rid of her, because she's a returning player, which means she's got experience, she can understand things probably a bit better than them. Moving on to Lesu, we found David straight away. He was hunting for an immunity idol, because Devons was sent out last week, and then he was in an alliance with Devons. So now it looks like David's sort of by himself, because War Dog, Wentworth and Lauren seem pretty tight. So I think David, the best thing for him to do was go looking for an immunity idol, because I think he was adamant that if they were to go to a tribal council, the other three were likely to gang up on him and get him out straight away. So I think he was doing anything within his power to attempt to stay in the game. This was sort of confirmed straight after when Lauren, Wentworth and War Dog did plan on getting David out if they lose immunity. They were venting, they were saying, you know, he's hopeless, he's rubbish at challenges, we need to get him out if they do lose immunity. And then, next thing you notice, Wentworth and War Dog were walking down the beach, and War Dog says to Wentworth, how about we get Lauren out? Which was a complete curveball. Did not expect that coming, but then again, it's War Dog. You don't know what to expect with him. He plays for himself, he doesn't play for anyone else, and exactly that's what someone should be doing on Survivor. But you've got to be careful to cover your tracks, because if someone finds out you're doing that, if Lauren finds out you're doing that, War Dog's done for. It's also quite crazy because Wentworth and Lauren seem very tight within that group as well. So for War Dog practically proposing to Wentworth to get her best friend out in the game, I think it's a bit crazy, but who knows. Now, this is the part of the episode I've been so excited for. I don't know about you guys, but I was so excited to see how everyone was getting on the edge of Extinction, because each episode we've been seeing little tiny snippets of what's going on there, but this was a proper hefty chunk of an episode that showed us what was going on there. Okay, so straight away we see action going on. Chris, he finds a box. He goes down to the beach and he finds a box with maps in for everyone. And then it said on the map, if the stars align, they'll point the way. Your goal is to get back in the fold. Okay, so straight away Devons figured out this map. So they all make a pact to go to these trees that Devons figured out were on the map, which is where something obviously important is going to happen. So as they were eating rice around the fire, Keith sneaks off, and he goes off before, you know, everyone decided they wanted to go, which was, you know, it's a risky move. If you made that pact, it's going to turn people against you, but then again, you're playing for yourself. He wants to get back in the game, understandable. So Chris then follows him. Everyone started following him, but Chris took the lead. Then Chris finally caught up with him and just beat Keith to the tree just in time. And I think that was a bit of karma, because honestly, Keith shouldn't have done that. I think that was quite low, and I think the fact that they all made a pact and he went against that was quite snaky. So anyway, Chris finds this thing, and he finds 3 bamboo sticks and a note that says practice on it. So this is obviously something to do with getting back in the game. So that was one of the trees, and when Chris and Keith were at that tree, Devons went to the other tree, which was on the other side of the island, and he found an advantage that said he can give an extra vote to someone at the next tribal council, and that couldn't be anyone who's still in the game, and it would be anonymous. That person wouldn't know who'd given them that advantage. I was loving the episode. Honestly, I was. It was just, what, 15 minutes in, and we'd already had all this talk about strategy and tactics. It was brilliant. And then next up was the immunity challenge. So everyone came around, and Jeff announced to everyone what the challenge was. Okay, so what they had to do was they were on a pontoon to start off with, and each tribe had to, one person at a time, had to swim over to a ramp, and they had to jump off this top of this ramp underwater to get these puzzle pieces that were underwater. They were locked onto some sort of chain, and they had to pull this stick out to release the puzzle pieces to come afloat. And when they'd got all these, they had to take these to another pontoon, all these puzzle pieces, and figure out how to create the puzzle. It was like a pyramid that they had to create out of all these puzzle pieces. So once again, obviously, Karma and Manu had to sit two people, like one person out each. Karma had Julie sit out this time, and Manu had Victoria sit out. So once again, from the start, we saw Lesu extremely struggling. There, as usual, this is a common reoccurrence now in all these challenges. They were struggling. War Dog really struggled to get those puzzle pieces out from underwater. Like, it was unbelievable, and you could tell the team was getting frustrated. Like, you could see Lauren was shouting, and she was getting rather annoyed. And then Karma and Manu were solving the puzzle. They were far ahead. They'd already got all their puzzle pieces. Lesu still trying to get their puzzle pieces out the water. So eventually Lesu did catch up, and they started solving the puzzle. And then Karma ended up winning immunity first. At this point, they are honestly competition beasts. Like, no one can beat them. And I'm pretty sure it's because Joe is leading that team. He's immense at all competitions. He bosses every single one, and good on him, because he is doing his team very, very proud. And I don't know if that's going to make a target as him on that team. People might go, oh, he's a threat because he can perform so well in these competitions. Because when the merge comes around, it's every man for themselves. So when Joe is doing all these immunity competitions, he might just win immunity challenge after immunity challenge after immunity challenge, which means it's going to be extremely hard to get him out. Or people might see him as a vital part of the team. But obviously the merge is coming very soon, so they don't really need to think about team that much at this point. So then Lesu and Manu continued to create their puzzles, and honestly, it was so tight. Like, I couldn't believe Lesu had caught up. And then eventually Lesu ended up winning immunity. They came second, and honestly, I'm pretty sure Jeff referred to it as one of the biggest comebacks in Survivor history, and that, honestly, I think he's right there, because it was incredible. I did not expect them to win it all, and it must have been so uplifting for them, because they're so used to getting loss after loss after loss. So do you know what? Well done to them. Well done to Lesu. They did very well. But that obviously means that Manu is going to the first tribal council of the episode. So we moved on to Manu Island. We saw what was going on, and once again the tactics seemed exactly the same. Eric, Gavin and Victoria were reassuring Aubrey again, making her feel comfortable. And then, next thing you know it, Aubrey goes into a bag and she finds this letter, and she opens it, and she finds out she's got an extra vote. So that's when you know Devons had given the extra vote to Aubrey. I did not expect that. I honestly thought he would have gave it to someone else, because as a returning player, Aubrey is a threat. So for Devons to give it to someone who's quite experienced at this game was a massive shock. You'd think, I mean, I know I would, if I was on the island, I would have gave it to, like, the extra vote to someone who didn't, necessarily perform quite well in the challenges and doesn't seem to have the best strategy going for them. Because if I was in Devon's position and I was preparing to return to the game, the people I'd won in the game were the ones who didn't pose much of a threat, because they'd be easy to take out. But when you leave someone like Aubrey in, who's a returning player, she knows the game like the back of her hand. So it's going to be extremely hard, I think. If Devons does get back in the game, or if anyone who gets back in the game, they're going to find it hard to get Aubrey out if she was to stay on the island. Dun dun dun! It's time for the first tribal council of the evening. Let's talk about that. Okay, so Aubrey chooses not to use her idol when she gets there. Jeff asks if anyone wants to use it, and she does not. She doesn't obviously reveal her idol to anyone. So then they all went in and voted one by one. And then Aubrey ended up getting voted out. She was blindsided by everyone. You should have seen the shock on her face. Oh my lord, she was in utter shock. She did not expect it, and I think she refrained from getting angry, because you could tell she was frustrated. I think she came up with something like, "You guys are amazing players," when really she just wanted to say, "Oh my God, get me out of here right now. I can't stand any of you. Get away from me." I like Aubrey. I honestly did. I wish she'd stayed longer. But then again, we find out if she gets to this end of the path, she decides she wants to go to the edge of extinction, which means she wants to return to the game, or she has the chance to. I hope, my favourite two on Edge of Extinction are Devons and Aubrey. I think they're both awesome, and I really hope one of them returns to the game if given the opportunity. So, as we went onto the Edge of Extinction, Aubrey was just reflecting on her blind side the morning after. She was just talking about how shocked she was, and she was talking about how she was acclimatizing to her new surroundings with these people who, she didn't know that well because she hasn't been in a tribe with them. So I think she said something along the lines of, she fuels herself on when she's at rock bottom, because she knows that when she's at rock bottom, the only way is up. And I think that was great to see that. I think that's a really good outlook on life, and I think that's great to sort of see someone talking like that in the game, because there's a lot of people in Edge of Extinction who are just like negativity, 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 and you just want to go, shut up, because honestly, you need a bit of positivity. I can assure you, well, not assure you because I haven't been there, but I can imagine it's extremely hard to live on that island, and I can understand why people get negative, but it's nice to see that Aubrey is still seeing the positive side of things, even though she's only been on there for one night. Who knows, she might crack. We're at the halfway point now. That's half the episode done, and what half an episode it was. It was great. So much strategy, so much tactics, and so much game talk. It was brilliant, more than we could ever ask for. We saw a lot of the Edge of Extinction, which I know a lot of people want to see, because I think not everyone, I didn't think it, but I think quite a lot of people in the fan community did think that the series was getting off to a bit of a slow start. But I think after seeing stuff that was happening on the Edge of Extinction, I think that really spruced up the game, and I think people are going to enjoy it a lot more. So it was the second half now, and we saw the next reward challenge. So Jeff obviously said what the challenge was. This time they had to throw sandbags. They had to collect sandbags along a series of obstacles, and then they had to throw these at a target. And Jeff revealed that first place wins coffee, tea, pastries and cookies, and second place wins just a couple of jars of iced coffee and some cookies as well. So obviously Karma needed to have someone sitting out, so they had Aurora sitting out this time. So throughout the challenge, everything looked extremely close. Everything was neck and neck, and then eventually Karma took the lead. Surprise, surprise, it was Joe leading the way again. War Dog again struggling. He was struggling with his throw, and honestly, it was hopeless. I'd never seen anything like it. You'd think War Dog would be able to throw a sandbag at a target, but apparently not. He was about, well, I'm not going to say fully, but he was very far off the target and extremely struggling. Joe, on the other hand, was extremely good. He was throwing really, really well, hitting the target pretty much every single time, and that was for Karma. Manu had Gavin doing that, and he was acing it as well. So I think you can probably guess this. Guess who came first? It was Karma again. They won the coffee, tea, pastries, and cookies. So after the continued struggle with War Dog, Lauren was like, right, come on, War Dog, let me in. So Lauren went in. Tiny bit more success. She wasn't brilliant. She hit the target probably a couple more times than War Dog, because War Dog didn't hit it at all. So eventually there was a bit of a face-off between Manu and Lesu, even though Manu was way ahead, and Gavin continued to hit those targets and ended up with Manu coming second place. That's another crush for Lesu. They are being told time and time again after Jeff, I've got nothing for you, go back to camp, and that's a crush on the morale of the team, and that's not going to help them perform well in immunity challenges. So they were just really hoping they could pull it out the bag when it came to the immunity challenge, because they are sick and tired of Jeff saying, I've got nothing for you, go back to camp, and they really do need a pick-me-up, or they're going to struggle again in the next immunity challenge. Let's talk about the positives first. Okay, so we saw Karma enjoying all the rewards that they'd won. They were gorging down cookies, pastries, you name it, and it looked very, very nice. I'm not going to lie, it looked very, very tasty. But as its survivor, obviously, there is no positive without a negative, as we saw Julie trying to make Joe feel comfortable once again, as she is planning on getting him out if they do end up going to tribal council. She was going along with Joe, she was agreeing to everything he was saying, but then Joe started, he went by himself down the beach. He started getting really upset because after he'd found out Aubrey had been voted out, he thought, oh no, I could potentially be next as a returning player. You've got no shield in this game. You can't hide anything. People know what your game is. People know what you're going for, and people know what you're after. So it must have been extremely hard for him. he couldn't get his head around the fact that he could potentially be going next as he is a returning player. So then Joe did try to make others feel like threats because he didn't want to be the only threat. He went up to Julia, started praising her loads, making her feel really good about herself and going, oh, you're really good at these competitions. He said, you know, you bring a lot to the team. And obviously that is going to make her feel like she's really important in the team. And then others might go, oh, Julie's a threat. Maybe we should get her out before Joe. It's going to take a lot of work, I think, for Joe to be able to pull the wool over everyone's eyes, because none of the others in that tribe are currently returning players. So Joe is automatically at the top of people to get out. There is certainly a lot more gameplay going on the Lesu tribe. They've been a tribal council time and time again. They've gone through the whole rigmarole of trying to understand who to get out, what to do, and how to execute the plans. Because when Jeff's telling you, it's time to vote someone out, it's time to vote someone out, you get a bit sick of it and you start to strategize a lot more because you're actually being put in these positions. As for the other tribes, they haven't been sent there as many times as them, so their strategy isn't as further developed as them, which probably means when it comes to the merger, people from that tribe may understand the game slightly more than others, along with the returning players who also make it to the merge. So yeah, as I said, with Lesu, there's a lot more going on. So first things we see is Lauren venting so much. She was venting about the food, the shelter, she was just complaining about everything. It's understandable, you're losing time after time after time, and all that's on your brain is the negativity and the bad side of things. I'm sure as soon as they win a challenge, it'll be a bit of a pick-me-up, but for now, they're definitely going to be on a downer. So, War Dog, Wentworth and David, they were discussing about getting Lauren out because she's shown her weak side, and that's not good for the team. Because when they're in their challenges, if someone's, you know, they're deprived of food and they're deprived of sleep because of the shelter, they're going to be slightly weaker and they won't be able to perform as well in the tasks. So, Wentworth and David did start discussing secretly how they actually feel about War Dog, and they came to a bit of a conclusion straight away that War Dog, when it comes to decisions, he's a dictator. He's extremely dominant and he just asserts his opinion over everyone else. Doesn't let anyone get a word in edgeways. So obviously Wentworth has been working with War Dog slightly, but she obviously hasn't been enjoying it because she obviously feels annoyed that she's not being able to have her opinion heard. So then, straight after that, Wentworth and David, as both returning players, they decided to work together because they're sick of War Dog. And this, honestly, this was a 180-degree turn for David. You know, previous weeks, all he's been saying is, I want to make up my personal target to get Wentworth out. But it doesn't look like that's going to be happening anytime soon, because it looks like they're working together now. It's time to go back to the edge of Extinction, where more maps have been found. Okay, so straight away, Devons figures out the map. He's a legend at this. He did it last time. He's done it again. What a guy. He's a ledge. What can I say? So Devons, he figures out this map and he begins digging sand from under the mast. And he thinks he's pretty confident. He's digging. And then all of a sudden he realises, oh no, I've got the wrong spot. So then Devons has completely, I would say he's back. He doesn't backtrack, he doesn't do anything. He's gave himself a disadvantage because he spent so much time doing that whilst the others may have had a better idea on where to look. So then Keith and Reem are stood just at the water's edge, you know, just they've got their feet in the water. And then Keith sees the advantage in the water after Reem pointed out to him. And he finds out that they didn't specify exactly what it was, but they said it was something about penalising someone. So this probably means that when they do battle back to go back into the game, he can probably give a disadvantage to someone. And he did express that he wanted to get revenge on Chris, so he's likely to penalise Chris when he gets the chance. Controversy time, it's conflict alert, get ready, here we go. What happens is, they get back to the fire. Chris accuses Reem of giving the advantage to Keith, which I think was, to be fair, I think it was pretty accurate. She did actually say, she pointed out on the water, she goes, look, what's that over there? And then she just completely lost it. Don't get me wrong, I like Reem, she's a good character. But she lost it. She was like, how dare you accuse me of giving that to Keith? And I'm like, Reem, you just said, what's that in the water, Keith, over there? Go and pick it up. And I'm thinking, how else are we supposed to phrase that? I'm pretty sure you did give it to him because you did say it. I'm sorry, Reem, but I think Chris is sort of in the right ear. But however, there did not need to be massive conflict. I do like Reem. I don't mind Chris. I prefer Reem over Chris, although they both seem cool. That was unnecessary. That conflict didn't need to happen, and it got completely out of hand. It also doesn't help that they're all sleep deprived and they all have barely had any food whilst being on the edge of extinction. It really is a nasty place to live. There isn't that many luxuries at all, if any, and honestly, the people on the normal islands think it's hard, like Lauren. Try sending her to the edge of extinction, she will probably crack. Next, we move on to the second immunity challenge of the episode. Now, this is where things get exciting. Jeff tells everyone to come in, and again, he gives them the brief. He tells them what they have to do. Okay, so this time, they have to climb this ladder and move a ball along a massive frame that was attached to a rope. This frame was made of bamboo. So then what they had to do after that, after they got this ball through, they pulled open a gate. This was opened by the ball. And then after that, they got through the gate and they had to solve a classic survivor slide puzzle. So once again, I don't know, I'm doing the drill. Karma had to have one person out and Ron sat out this time. So at this point, throughout the episode, Karma have had everyone sit out of their when it comes to competitions, apart from Joe. Obviously, Joe's the comp beast. They're going to keep him in this competition because they really don't want to lose. Now for the twist of the night. This was immense. Jeff tells everyone everything's not as you think it is, and then he says only one tribe is going to win immunity. That's mad. That means 2 tribes are going to tribal council. This is huge. What can I say? This is 2 tribes, obviously different tribes, and they haven't necessarily mixed together. So that means the dynamics are going to change drastically. You know, the strategy is going to have to change. Are the teams going to stick together? Are they going to turn on each other? This is a turning point in the game. I can tell you that this is going to be massive. Before it even happened, I could tell alliances were going to be broken, alliances were going to be made, and you can see exactly where people stand. If they're willing to turn on their own people, or they are going to stick up for their own people. Okay, so the challenge is going to start, and then, you know, it starts. Okay, Karma takes the early lead. Surprise, surprise, Karma is always taking the early lead. They've got Joe, you know, blasting through it again. Manu followed second place, like, you know, throughout the whole thing, like, and then Karma continued to beat their way through, as expected. And then, surprise, surprise, I know I keep saying surprise, surprise, but it's the only word to use because it doesn't surprise me at all. Karma wins immunity thanks to Joe. Of course, it's Joe who carrying the team as always. So that means Manu and once again Lesu are heading towards tribal council, but this time together. Straight after that, we see the fallout on Manu Island. The general sort of consensus seems to be that they all want to stick together. Wendy thinks someone would flip, who because obviously she's been in she's been with the people who are currently in Lesu before they made it 3 tribes. She believes that someone from there is willing to flip because she knows that tribe aren't that loyal to each other. She knows that War Dog, Wentworth, and Lauren and David are all out for themselves, and she thinks that one of them would be actually willing to flip. And then they question themselves: are they willing to go to rocks? Will they do that? Will they not? We're going to find out. But Victoria then reveals, obviously secretly, she's willing to betray Manu if necessary because she wants to better herself and she wants to further herself in the game. As for Lesu, it's the same old, same old. War Dog continues to assert his opinion on the group. Wentworth started speaking and War Dog was like, I think we should do this. This is my opinion. Please, War Dog, give it a rest. This is great for everyone else's game because you look dominant and it looks like you're controlling everyone. People are going to want you to go. However, he needs to think, this isn't good for my own game. He's getting his own way, but he doesn't realise that people are getting annoyed with him. I think it's quite he seems quite deluded in this situation because he doesn't even realise the ways that he's acting. Okay, so what War Dog wants to do, what he proposed was he wants to put 4 votes, like the whole tribe, he wanted them all to vote for Wendy, and then hope that someone from Manu would flip. That could be Victoria, as she said she was willing to betray Manu. They want to get Wendy, obviously, because Wendy's the only person who's in Manu that wasn't with the people who are there currently in the first place. So they think that they won't be so loyal to Wendy and someone will go, like, they want to get rid of Wendy. So then they all said, yeah, that they're willing to go to rocks. They said that to each other's faces. However, on the other hand, when they started talking about each other behind their backs on the beach and having conversations with one another secretly, War Dog was actually unsure if he's willing to actually go to rocks for Lauren. As he said earlier, he's seeing Lauren as a weak person on the team now. He doesn't necessarily want her on the tribe. So Wentworth, David and Lauren continue to vent about War Dog. They went off secretly and sick of him because they think he doesn't contribute. I'm pretty sure what happened was they were all doing something around camp. They were all helping out, and then Wardog was like, "I'm going down to the beach," and they were like, "Oh Lord, he's just got to strategize again." And that, I don't understand how he can't realize people are annoyed with him, because the way he's going on, in my opinion, if I was on there, it's unacceptable. I think it's wrong. So then to find out Wardog has actually got to look for an idol. That makes him even more selfish. He's fair enough looking for an idol, but the way his attitude, just the way he goes on with people isn't acceptable. And then to go look for an idol whilst leaving everyone else to do camp work, some people might say it's good gameplay, but I think, again, pretty snaky. I think it's a bit low. However, Wentworth, Lauren, and David go after him to sort of see what he's up to, and luck changes. Wardog's like, "I'm going back to camp." And then next thing you know it, Wentworth has found this idol. It's hanging off a tree. Wardog walked right past it and didn't see it. Wentworth grabbed it. And then Lauren ended up telling Wentworth that she had the idol as well. And they both shared these with each other. And then Lauren did announce that she doesn't want to go to Rocks for Wardog. So if there's a tie, she is not willing to go to Rocks for Wardog. It's that time again, folks. Dun dun dun! It's time for the second tribal council of the episode. Okay, so this was an eventful tribal council, definitely my favourite of the season so far. Wendy ended up whispering to David that he has a place, like he has a spot with them, with Manu, because she believes that David is the outcast in Lesu, and she believes that she could get him to flip potentially. This ended up triggering a whisper chain. Everyone started whispering to each other, all the teams started whispering to each other. It was unbelievable, but it was brilliant to watch the gameplay. And then David announced to Jeff, "Wendy, can I have a word with you for a second?" And David ended up taking Wendy away from the logs that they all sit on, and they were whispering to each other. What that was about, we don't find out, but I think David was probably just covering for himself and trying to make it look like he was friends with Wendy. This gameplay was absolutely brilliant. I loved seeing all the strategizing and the secrets and everyone just saying stuff to each other without other people knowing. It's what creates the best episodes of Survivor and any reality show for that matter, in which there is strategy involved, because no one knows anything. It's all the unknown, and especially when Jeff's about to reveal the votes, you don't know what's going to come. You can predict it, but you might not always be right. It might be completely different to what you think. Jeff asks if anyone wants to play their idol. No one does it. I think everyone's adamant they want to keep the idol till they get to the merger, because it's more vital when it gets to that stage. So then Jeff reveals the votes, and we find out 4 votes have gone to Wendy and 4 votes have gone to Lauren. So then we do know that each tribe has stuck together and they've both stuck up for their own tribe members. None of them have flipped. So then we went to the re-vote. So obviously it was only Lauren and Wendy that could be voted out. What happened was more whispers. Everyone started strategizing again. It was mad to see some people from Lesu talking to some people from Manu, and I'm pretty sure, I can't remember who it was, I think it was Eric who came over to Wardog and David and was proposing for them to help his vote out. Eric wanted Wardog and David to help him out, which I thought was absolutely crazy. I'm pretty sure Wardog responded with something like, "We've only just met you, why would we help you?" Which is completely understandable. Why in heck they would want to help Eric after what after they've just met him, I don't understand. Maybe it'd be a good game move, but I don't really see anything there that's going to benefit their game. Maybe a tiny bit of trust, but how can you trust someone who you've just met a second ago? I'm not really sure. So then the vote happens, and then we find out that Wendy is voted out. They didn't reveal all the votes. I think Wendy was unanimously voted out by everyone. I think everyone sort of just made a pact to sort of go, yeah, it's time for Wendy to go. And then Wendy gets to the path where she decides, does she want to go home or does she want to take the torch and get on the boat to the edge of extinction? And just like everyone else, she decides, yes, I'm going to the edge of extinction. Fair play to her, just like everyone else. She is obviously going to get an opportunity to return to the game. I don't know about you guys, but I absolutely loved that episode. My favourite episode of the series so far, because we got so much action and we got to understand everything that was going on every single island. It was absolutely brilliant, and I hope the rest of the season can keep that up, because next week we saw on the clip that there is the merger, and also it's the return of the Edge of Extinction players. How many people are going to return? I can only assume 1, but I'm going to make my prediction. I think that likely to return to the game, I've got 3 contenders. I think it could either be Aubrey. She's got past experience as a Survivor player, so she might have to utilise that and get back in the game. Devons, I think has a chance as well. He seems to be quite sharp and he can figure out things quite quick, as seen in the maps. And also, I think Chris stands a chance as well. I think he's probably the best competitor when it comes to a physical challenge. As for Reem and Keith and Wendy, I don't know if they stand as much of a chance. Reem is my favourite out of those other three. Wendy, I don't mind. Keith, I'm not a big fan of. I completely went off Keith when he lost the pact with everyone and just decided to sneak off and go get the idol. I didn't really like that at all. So, personally, I'd like Devons to return to the game. He'd be my favourite to come back, and then probably Aubrey after that. So, guys, I hope you enjoyed that episode. I gave it my all. Obviously, it was the first one. I can only hope they get better from here on out. Please comment what you think could improve this. I know it's cliche to say all this stuff. Please subscribe, please like, and share it, please, because that would really be a massive help. But remember, comment, because I really need to know what to improve. This is the start of something, and I need constructive criticism to understand what to improve upon. So once again, thank you for everyone watching this video. I'm really sorry if the audio wasn't brilliant. I haven't invested in a proper microphone yet, but I think I'm going to be doing that soon, so then the audio will be improved. I'm not definite on that, but it's looking likely that I'm going to get a better microphone, so then that'll hopefully make everything sound. Once again, I will say it again, cliche time. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe, please like, please comment, please share. I've been your host, Tom Vasey. Good night.